Thanks for walking with us in our attempt to join Christ in his final week leading up to the cross. Like we talked about yesterday, Jesus arrived in the temple, he stormed the place, cleansed it of all the money changers, an event which kind of threw people off. Some people liked it, some people did not. A lot of the religious leaders, not big fans. They actually started conspiring to kill Jesus. Not looking good. Now it's Tuesday. Jesus once again finds himself in the middle of the temple in Jerusalem, surrounded by his disciples, by fellow pilgrims, and by those very same religious leaders who are wanting to kill him. Surrounded by all these people, what does Jesus do? He starts teaching. Well, one thing you need to know about Jesus is that he spoke with this level of authority and power that kind of had mixed reactions amongst all the different people. Some people were absolutely astounded by this, and this is actually what drew them to Jesus. The religious leaders, they were not the biggest fans of this, safe to say. And so what happens during this particular moment is that a lot of the religious leaders, they got together and they start absolutely berating Jesus, trying to get him to explain upon what authority he's been doing all these things. But Jesus, always one step ahead, beats them at their own game and moves on. He turns to the people and he starts sharing this parable about this vineyard owner who entrusts his vineyard to some tenants. And what happens is that after some time, the vineyard owner decides to check in on his vineyard, and so he sends some servants to go check in. But what happens is the craziest thing. The tenants abuse the servants and send them away. Well, what the vineyard owner decides to do after some time is that he decides to send his one and only son to check in on the vineyard. But what happens is that the tenants kill the son. Now, any Jew who was hearing this, they would recognize what Jesus is doing. He's alluding to a parable that was shared by the prophet Isaiah hundreds of years earlier, where God spoke of his own people as a vineyard, and the servants are the prophets. And so Jesus is saying that the religious leaders are the tenants entrusted to take care of God's own people. But instead, what they've done is they have disobeyed the prophets, they've abused them, and they've sent them away. And now Jesus is saying that God has sent his only son, and those same tenants, the religious leaders, are planning to kill him. Jesus, in front of everybody, is predicting his own death. Well, it's safe to say that the religious leaders, once again, are not the biggest fans of this. And so what they do is that they hire a bunch of people to come and try to get Jesus to self-incriminate himself. They hire people like the Pharisees, the Sadducees, the Herodians, and they send them in, and one by one, they're trying to get Jesus to incriminate himself. But Jesus, as always, is a bit ahead of the game. He's one step ahead. He beats them at their own game, and he moves on. What we see on this Tuesday is that there are people even to this day who, like the religious leaders, will blind themselves to what God is doing in the world, even if the Son of God is standing right in front of them. I hope that you'll join us tomorrow to figure out what happens on Wednesday. But remember, for now, it's Tuesday, but Sunday's coming.